Hello again, class. This is your host, Teddy Worldsevelt, and today on Weekly Rough Rider Americana, we are going to cover the Washington Monument. Now, as someone who's been to the Washington Monument, I can tell you it's a very impressive monument, and it is a very iconic part of Washington, D.C. Again, before we get started, I'd like to promote my friend, Dr. Zev Goldman Weiner. Check out the link here as you can see on the screen, and I will also put the link in the description. So, let's get started. The Washington Monument is named after, you guessed it, George Washington. George Washington was perhaps the one indispensable man among the founders. It is hard to imagine any of the others commanding the respect needed to lead the Continental Army to victory over Great Britain, preside over the Constitutional Convention, and serve the United States as its first president. Little in Washington's early life gave a hint to the great achievements to come. Born into the plantation elite of Virginia, he received a limited education. When he was 11, Washington's father died, and his half-brother, Lawrence, took him under his wing. First in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen, George Washington's military and political leadership were indispensable to the founding of the United States. As commander of the Continental Army, he rallied Americans from the 13 divergent states and outlasted Britain's superior military force. As the first president, Washington's superb leadership set the standard for each president that has succeeded him. And in fact, the Washington Monument was the tallest building in the world upon its completion in 1884. One of the reasons the Washington Monument is so tall is because George Washington was very tall for men at the time. In 1833, the Washington National Monument Society, a private organization, formed to fund and build a monument to the first president that would be, quote, unparalleled in the world, end of quote. The society solicited for donations and designs for a decade, settling on a design by Robert Mills in 1845. Mills' design called for a 600-foot Egyptian-style obelisk ringed by 30 100-foot columns. The design was audacious, ambitious, and expensive, creating numerous complications during its construction. As you can see, the 100-foot columns are not there, but there is an obelisk. An obelisk in ancient Egyptian society was a way for the pharaohs, the kings, to show their power. The Washington Monument was dedicated on a chilly February 21st, 1885, the same day before George Washington's birthday, which fell on Sunday that year. After the completion of the iron staircase in the monument's interior, the Washington Monument was first accessible to the public in 1886, closed much of 1887 until it could be better protected from vandals, and reopened in 1888 with a public elevator. Visitors making the ascent would view commemorative stones inset in the walls from various individuals, civic groups, cities, states, and countries from around the world. The tokens of appreciation of Washington's admirers, and in many cases, the donors that contributed to the construction of the monument and its privately financed phase. Today, there are 193 of these commemorative stones. Last week we covered the Lincoln Memorial. So, as you can see, the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial complement each other. Just how the legacy of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln complement each other. George Washington helped create the Union, and Abraham Lincoln strove to preserve the Union. Thanks again for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you next time. I have been your host, Teddy Roosevelt, and this has been Weekly Rough Rider Americana.